What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to week 3 of the Axial Honcho budget build. If you're not familiar with the budget build, we take this car and we upgrade it with $50 every week. If we don't spend all the money, it carries over to the next week. So far, we've put an Axial bomber interior inside, done some free suspension tuning, and we've installed some new tires. This week, we've got 2 upgrades that we're going to tackle. The first one is that we're going to replace those front dog bone axle shafts with a set of Incision universal shafts. And the second one that we're going to do is a Flip Your Lid kit from DCW crawlers. And then after we handled those 2 upgrades, we're also going to crack open the transmission in this car and check out the gearing that comes inside of the Honcho. Also this week, we'll be doing a giveaway, and I'll give the details on that towards the end of the video. First, let's jump into the upgrades. The Axial Honcho is the first SCX10-2 that has not come with universal shafts out of the box. Instead, this vehicle comes with dog bone front axles. Now, dog bone shafts have some downside when it comes to performance. This car has fixed bump stops molded into the plastic tie rod that goes between the 2 knuckles. So the steering is actually limited by those stops. And when we install these new universal shafts, those steering stops are still going to stop this at the exact same point. However, that's not the reason that I want to change them this week. The reason that I want to change those shafts, though, is because a dog bone shaft, when it's steering, has a tendency to apply forces almost outside of the center rotation of those axle shafts. And what that can do is that can have a tendency to break the C-hubs or knuckle. And why I feel that that is an important thing to bring up is because the new Honcho also has those one-piece molded housings where the C-hub is incorporated. And that incorporated C-hub, then, if we break it, we cannot easily repair it by just sliding on a new C-hub. It will actually require us to replace the entire center portion of that housing. So the reason that we're gonna go with the Incision universals is because they're made out of 4340 chromoly heat treated steel, and these are going to be much stronger than the Axial version that we could also have chosen from. These are gonna be a direct drop in to the axles once we remove those dog bone shafts. For convenience, we're gonna remove the body of the Honcho first. With the body removed, we're gonna remove both of the front wheels. Those center caps simply twist off by hand, and then you'll use your 7mm nut driver to remove the wheel nuts. We'll use our Crawler Innovation cell block to hold the vehicle up while the tires are off. Next, remove the wheel hexes and hex pins. Then remove the top and bottom kingpin screws. You can also remove the screw holding the steering linkage. The dog bone stub axle will pop out, and you can leave the bearings in the knuckle. And then simply pull out the inner dog bone shaft from the axle. Now you can simply slide in the new Incision universal shaft. Reinstall the knuckle with the bearings inside of it, then simply reverse the steps to reinstall. So our Incision front axle shafts are installed. Those will allow us to get a lot more steering, but I'm not actually going to be utilizing that yet. I'm going to leave those hard steering stops that are molded into that plastic tie rod in place for now, because I think that those hard stops in that tie rod are actually going to help us prolong the life of that tactic servo. So for now, we're not going to gain the steering. Those shafts are really just to help us not break other parts, and then later on down the road, we're going to take full advantage of those new shafts as well. Sometimes doing an upgrade now will save us from costly repairs and other upgrades that we would have to do if we broke parts. Now, the next thing we're going to install is the Flip Your Lid kit from DCW. And that kit consists simply of these 2 machined Delrin brackets. They're a very simple little design, and they're going to bolt onto this truck with very little work. But what this kit accomplishes is it installs a hinge in the rear of the chassis that eliminates the need for the 2 rear body posts. So what you end up having to do is just pull the front 2 body posts, and then the whole body easily hinges backwards. The install of this kit is going to be pretty straightforward, and I'll show you exactly how we do that. With the body removed, remove the 2 inner screws that hold these lower struts into place. With those 2 screws removed, you can pull those struts out of place. My hinges were just a little bit difficult to get started, so all I did is took my body reamer and just cleaned up that outside edge just to make sure that it started easily. Once it starts to go on, it slides on pretty easily after that. Now we're going to take the hinge and simply slide it over this strut. We're simply going to get them put onto the struts first, and then we'll finalize the position in a minute. Once the hinges are installed on the struts, replace the struts back into the pockets, and reinstall the screws. Now this new Honcho has a new rear brace, and it sticks out a little bit further than the old style Honcho brace did, and that actually holds this body up from being able to rotate all the way back. It still functions just fine with this brace, but if you've got an old flush style brace and you want to put it in there, it'll allow it to go all the way backwards and allow tons of access to the chassis while on the trail. Now, if you install this style that doesn't have the LED buckets, you will lose a place for those two red LEDs that come in this chassis. I am actually going to install this clean style lower brace because I have another plan for the taillights, but I'm going to get to the taillight part in another week. For now, I'm going to remove them from the chassis completely. This step is completely optional, and actually I probably wouldn't do it if I didn't already have a different plan for those taillights. So now we're going to take the body and we're going to slide those hinges over the ends of the frame rail. I'm going to line up the front body posts just to double check the position, and I'm going to reinstall one of the front body clips to just hold it where it needs to be. Now I can take and put these hinges into place, and we can see that the holes on the side of these hinges now line up with the holes on the chassis and into that cross brace. I'm going to use an M3x10 socket head cap screw to hold these hinges onto the chassis. Now at this point, we're going to remove that front body clip, hinge the body backwards, and we can now remove those rear body posts completely from the chassis. By installing this Flip Your Lid kit, it actually lowers your body down just slightly onto the chassis. So now it only takes 2 body clips and we can just flip the body up and it's there to work on. What that does leave us with is 2 spare body clips that we no longer need. I'm gonna actually take and install those on the body post of the driver's side. That way I've got spares with me on the trail if I ever lose one of the ones that holds the front of this body down. So now we've installed our Incision front axle shafts and that DCW Flip Your Lid kit. And speaking of the Flip Your Lid kit, DCW is going to give away 3 sets of these Flip Your Lid kits to the viewers. All you have to do is go to the DCW Crawlers Facebook page, which is linked in the description below, and go find the post for the giveaway on these parts. By the next video, Brett will pick 3 winners and give me the names, and I'll put them in next week's video. So now that we've tackled all the upgrades, we're gonna do one last thing, and that is to open up this new ready-to-run transmission and just make sure that it's properly lubricated, just like we did the ring and pinion. The ring and pinion we found was properly lubricated, but just to cover all bases, let's open it up. To check inside this transmission, all I'm gonna do is remove the 4 screws from the skid plate and then the 4 screws from the transmission case halves. I'm not gonna remove the motor or the motor wires for now because I'm just checking to make sure that it's properly lubricated. Inside we can see, just like those front ring and pinions, the transmission in this car was properly lubricated. This transmission inside has a sintered metal top gear and then a plastic idler gear and a plastic final gear. So that covers week 3 of the Honcho budget build. Make sure to check the links below to enter the giveaway for the DCW Flip Your Lid kits. And remember that we're doing this budget build side by side with Matthew Kett over at Scale Builders Guild. So make sure to go check out his week 3 as well. I'll make sure that it is linked in the description also. Next week, I'll be trying to do another giveaway as well. So let me know in one of these things if you entered this week's giveaway. And I appreciate all the ideas for your guys' suggestions on things to do in the budget build. If you have any questions, feel free to put them there as well. I get to most of the comments throughout the week. I'm really excited for the upcoming weeks. There's so many things that I would love to do to this truck all at once, but this budget build structure really just makes me try and plan and put this puzzle together how I would like to try and keep it as interesting as possible. But I've got some things coming that I worked on recently that I've never seen before, and I'm excited to show you guys what I've done. With that, guys, thanks for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, please, if you haven't, and make sure to go check out Matthew Kett's week 3 as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.